Nearly a year ago, journalist Gouri Lankesh was shot dead outside her home in Bangalore, and now the investigation looks like it may be coming to a close. 2 more people were arrested this week, taking the total number of arrests to 9.
Protests in Hubballi by right-wing activists after 2 men from the town were arrested by the SIT for their alleged involvement in the murder of Gouri Lankesh. The 2 men, Amit Baddi, a goldsmith, and Ganesh Miskin, who manufactures incense sticks, are in police custody until August 6th, charged with murder and under the Arms Act. The statement by the first man arrested in the case in February, Naveen Kumar, talks of his involvement like the Sri Rama Sena. 4 other men arrested in the case were being investigated for a plot to kill the Mysuru-based rationalist K.S. Bhagwan, with possible links to Gauri's killing being made later.
ಯಾರು ಅದರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತವರು ಅದೆಲ್ಲದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಆ ಹತ್ಯೆಯ ಪ್ರಕರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿರತಕ್ಕಂತವರು ಏನಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಉತ್ತಮವಾದಂತ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತನಿಖೆ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತಿದೆ. ಸದ್ಯದಲ್ಲೇ ಇದರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮಟ್ಟದ ವ್ಯೂಹ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಕಾಯಬೇಕು.
It is almost 11 months since the murder, and the hope is for closure soon in the case. Maya Sharma for NDTV.
And joining us on Left, Right and Centre tonight is journalist and author Chidanand Rajkhatta, who in fact was married to Gouri Lankesh many years ago and has come out with this book, Illiberal India, Gouri Lankesh and the Age of Unreason. I would like to say, Chidanand, that this is a well-timed book for so many reasons, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Harish Bijur is joining us tonight from Bangalore. Vivek Reddy, who's a spokesperson of the BJP in Karnataka, is also with us. Chidanand, let's first talk about Gouri. And you've written very beautifully in your book that the idea that someone would assassinate this slender, small-built, utterly vulnerable woman, feisty though she was beyond comprehension, beyond cowardly. That yes, she had taken on radical causes in recent years, but none of that seemed to be or was deserving of putting her life in the crosshairs. When you heard that she had been shot dead, did you have any inkling at all that she was under threat of any kind, that she had been getting threats? Did it come as a complete and utter shock?
Absolutely, complete utter shock. I can believe it. There had been threats in the sense that, and we all face it as journalists. You know, you're out there, I'm out there. You know, social media is a vicious, toxic swamp. I liken it to getting into a sewage pit now. And there are always, you know, nutters posting messages and threatening you, using very harsh language. So she had battled with that. There was no doubt about that. She was a very public figure, and but she was a woman. And if you really, you know, look at it, there's not a tradition of, you know, people killing female journalists or female activists in India or anywhere else for that matter. I mean, spottily it happens in Pakistan and a few other countries, but for India it was very new. So yes, I mean, she was under threat, but it was not specific, yeah, it shocked me, yes.
And I want to tell our viewers also that, I mean, despite, you know, your marriage ending in divorce with her, you were both very good friends and remained close till the very end, in fact. And which is why I'm asking you that now as these, you know, these arrests are being made and you're seeing where the investigation is going, what do you think of that? I mean, it took the longest time actually for the first arrest to come through. But do you see a pattern here in the way Gouri was killed and we've seen the murders of some others?
Absolutely. Look, there were 4 people who were killed. They were all of similar, you know, ideological inclination. They were all rationalists. They were all pretty much left of center. Insofar as investigation is concerned, it took a long time. I mean, remember, Gouri was the last of the killings, and the special investigative team still managed to crack the case in, what, about 6 months. The previous cases, which are 3 and 4, took much longer. So I think they've done a commendable job. The problem with India is even if the police do a good job, it's the prosecution. Our prosecution mechanism is very weak. So invariably either delay or, obfuscation, the people get away, and it's important to focus on that. Insofar as illiberalism is concerned and the people who perpetuated her death or caused her death, this is an indication of the rise of right-wing extremists, not just in India actually, everywhere, in the United States, in Pakistan, in Turkey, you look across the world. And please note that when I say right-wing extremism, I'm not inducting religion into it straight away, because in India it might be right-wing Hindu extremism, but there's also Muslim extremism in, say, in Pakistan. In the United States it's Christian extremism or Christian fundamentalism. So it seems to me that there's a pattern across the world where there's a rise of very illiberal right-wing forces with the local religion dominating.
So let me take that to Vivek Reddy of the BJP. That Mr. Reddy, would you agree with that sort of conclusion that Chidanand has come to, seeing how things have sort of panned out with Gauri's killing, that should we worry as a country about the rise of extremism of any kind? And Chidanand's not even prefixing a religion to it. He's careful to sort of make that clear.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad Nidhi Chidanand has examined this from the world perspective and seen that across the world there is a rise of extremism. This is one. But Chidanand also, I respect him as a writer, we read his articles. I'd like to make a point here that, look, India had always been a country where some of the greatest religions of the world found a safe haven in India. And we find that this is one of the most distinguishing features of Indian culture. And that has not changed, though Chidanand may have worded it as illiberal India, and I have some exceptions to that terminology, but still India is not illiberal, definitely not. Here are 1.25 billion people who are living with utmost peace, and there is not much of a police that is policing this nation.
You really believe that?
All these,
when we just had a,
disparate,
we just had a huge argument over lynchings.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
like 10 minutes ago. Mob violence, mob justice, vigilante
let
justice.
me tell you one thing.
Yeah.
Let me tell you one thing. Amongst 1.25 billion people, they are self-regulated here in India today, and they have accepted all forms of religious forms amidst them, the propagation of all religions amidst them, and it is an act of self-regulation and self-discipline. With great respect to Mr. Chidanand Rajgata, but the point is, India is not illiberal, definitely not. Of course, we strongly condemn the death of Gouri Lankesh. Such things cannot happen, and there is no place for such things in today's India or in the future of India. But still, you cannot simply label India as illiberal.
Okay,
there is something more to India.
To explain why he says that, before I ask him to explain why he says that, Harish Bijur, what's your take on this? I mean, like I said, we've just spent the last 30 minutes before this, having a sort of a very emotional discussion on a Muslim man being lynched in Alwar and the way the police responded. And unfortunately, that's the story we're talking about night after night from different parts of the country. Are we increasingly becoming an illiberal democracy?
Okay, to me, Nidhi, this is a big worry because, two alliteratives, which is illiberal and intolerant and India going together, these don't sound very good to me. But there seems to be a certain degree of realism in these words. And that is a worry. For me, what really worries is any kind of attitude which is majoritarianism oriented, because India has never been majoritarian oriented. The constitution itself starts with us saying we are a sovereign, secular, democratic republic, and the word secular has been viewed by people with a great degree of passion. For me, anything which goes against it, anything which says do it the majoritarian way is a big issue. Because for India, for me, the word intolerance, the word illiberal is the new sedition. I think intolerance is as big a word as sedition is. It's worse, in fact, because, being intolerant is really not an Indian attitude. Being illiberal is really not an intolerant Indian attitude. I think we are an amalgam of being very tolerant and liberal. But if that goes out of the board, out of the book, I worry for it. And I think that's what we need to be bothered about, majoritarianism.